Hello, my beautiful rock stars. It's your girl Rocqi, your revolutionary hippie from LifeIsRocqi. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So it just started recording and I wasn't all the way ready. It was like, I see your face. But all right, so today I want to talk about Black American folklore, but I also want to preface a whole bunch of stuff. So the ancestors are calling out to me to document our history and culture because I just saw another article that Trump is trying to gut the Smithsonian's National Museum of African American History and Culture because he wants to gut the race divisive ideology. And it's like, so you want to be racist but not be called racist? Is that what it is? You don't want the history books to label you as a racist? Is that what it is? Because how are we, what? The foundation of this country is what it is. So that being said, today's Black Buy is from the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture. I got my shirt, which isn't this a cute design? So this is the a design of the actual building, but then it has that too. Hopefully that's not backwards. And then I also got a bag. So this is that side. Sorry, it's all wrinkled up. There we go. And then this is the other side with the design, which is a really cute design. Very artistic. And in my documentation, check out my blogs. I put the links in the description box below, as well as my other videos. I'll also put that at the end, where I talk about Black American quilts. And I also talk about Black American flags. Hold on, my computer's okay. I don't think I have anything else to say about the Black American quilts, but definitely check that out. That was such a beautiful moment of reclamation as well as reconnection with the ancestors and just having a moment of learning something new about my culture and ancestry. It was really a beautiful moment. So yeah, I have a couple of blogs and a couple of videos about me going to exhibits and exploring that aspect of Black American culture. I just posted a blog about Black American flags, and I also painted this. So the African American flag, created in 1990 by David Hammonds, I believe his name is the flag that speaks most to me. And because of that, I painted this. And I feel like red, white, and blue never spoke to me, but I am American. My ancestors were at the foundation and creation of this country, even past 1619 in Jamestown, Virginia, to St. Augustine, Florida in 1565 with the Spanish, okay? Because we always talk about Jamestown because they're British, but we got Florida, so that's start of it. But anyways, so I painted this because I respect my ancestors in this land, in this country, and what we built, but I also recognize that this country was never for us and still chooses to not be for us. So this flag means the most to me. But as you can see, I've put historic Black towns, Black Wall Streets, and Black Meccas in the stripes. And then while the black dots represent the 50 stars, as with the United States, the yellow dots represent the 107 HBCUs that exist today in 2025. So yeah, I really love this piece. I will probably make a separate video going through each of the historic towns, but yeah, I talk more about the flags that we have open to us to choose from, to represent our ethnicity as well as to take pride in. So definitely check that out. I think that was it but definitely check out my blog, y'all. I am loving having ownership over my content because I used to just blog on Facebook, and then I don't know, something shifted and I was like, I need to own things because we are in this age of they able to take stuff away, you know, like, oh my goodness. So one of the aspects of Black American folklore is John Henry. Woo, 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 woo. So one of the things that I was going to talk about today is John Henry. Now, John Henry is folklore that I knew about. When I was 8 years old in 2000, Disney put out a short film called John Henry. And rewatching this film was an absolute full circle moment because they used a quilt to tell the story of John Henry. And I was just like, oh my God, the ancestors, they are speaking to me. I'm in alignment. It is going well. Okay. I feel so connected. But yeah, but remembering that short film felt like a dream. Like I was like, I feel like I remembered dreaming this. Like it didn't seem real. Like it wasn't a continuous thing that was put out every Black History Month. Like it wasn't a thing. So I bought it. Now something happens to YouTube, I will no longer have it because I bought the digital. Who owns DVD players? Yo, the fact that they took ownership away from us and now everything is subscription based and they can still take stuff from us. Like I pay for a Google Drive, they can still take it, like it's just the world we live in, I tell you. But anyways, so I sorry, I'm hearing my daughter, but I rewatched that with my daughter, and it's a great song. I do like that they have a song, but I didn't even know they had books about it. So yes, John Henry is a folk hero. Let me explain what folklore is. My bad. So folklore is stories, lessons, proverbs, wisdom, sayings, beliefs that are passed down from generation to generation by word of mouth. It's in an oral tradition. And Black Americans, coming from my ancestors of Africa, are oral people. We are storytellers, right? However, a lot of that gets lost if somebody stops passing it down, if people don't want to talk about the stories, and if it's not written in a documented form. So there are many authors of the John Henry books, so you can just find one. But the movie stood out to me just because of the song. But it also shows, so for that folk hero, it was a Black man who was a freed slave, and it was the late 1800s that the story took place. We don't know if he was a fictional character or real. People say he was most likely real, but there are books trying to find evidence in history of John Henry's existence. But he was a railroad worker in the late 1800s, so post-Civil War, freed slave. And he was this big, strong guy who basically competed against a machine, which is foreshadowing to the problems of today. And it's a story about strength and determination, community, but also about burnout and how we deserve to rest. Okay. But make sure you check out that short film by Disney that came out in 2000 called John Henry. Why I feel like Oprah was the wife, but I gotta double check that. But I'm like, her voice sounds too familiar. Okay. But, yeah, definitely gotta, that was a really blessing to find again and then now own, so I can show ownership of that and show that to my children. So I really loved that story, but one that I grew up hearing but I didn't know the context of was Brer Rabbit. So this is Brer Rabbit, and it was actually published in 1941. Woo! Now it was published by a white guy. His name was Joel Chandler Harris. And he framed Brer Rabbit as a story from Uncle Remus. Now, Uncle Remus is a fictional character. He said he was inspired by Uncle Tom from Uncle Tom's Cabin. Y'all, there's a whole history of how stuff got misconstrued, okay? So, like, even from this. So, Brer Rabbit, coming from the tradition of using hares as tricksters and with cunning and wit in Africa, so Brer Rabbit was coming from that tradition, but he represented the enslaved person who was able to use trickery and wit to outsmart the powerful Brer Fox, who represented the master, and Brer Bear, who represented the overseer. So this Brer Rabbit was a folk hero to enslaved to show them that they could overcome oppression without brute force, right? So that was the history of that, and this was a folk story that was told during slavery by those ancestors, passed down from generation to generation. So after the Civil War, this white man, Joel Chandler Harris, wrote down the stories from enslaved people, from formerly enslaved people, because he worked on a plantation. So I forget where it was. I forget what state he was in. He was in the South, but I can't remember what state. But he created this Uncle Remus character to kind of like mimic an African griot of storytelling, but it cast a romanticized version of plantation life and the Sambo happy slave. So there is a lot of pushback on this particular book, but a lot of stuff that was created about Brer Rabbit came from this book. So there's a lot of controversy, but let's pay homage to the original folk tales that were Brer Rabbit, that our ancestors, our enslaved ancestors, passed down to give them hope. Okay. So what was created, what was created from Brer Rabbit was Walt Disney's Song of the South in 1946, which then inspired the Disney ride Splash Mountain, which Splash Mountain has now been rethemed to Disney's Princess and the Frog, Tiana's Bayou, which I'm cool about because I know nothing about Song of the South nor Splash Mountain. And then I have themed my daughter's second birthday around Princess Tiana, so I'm with it. But anyways, so apparently Song of the South again has a lot of flack because of the romanticization of plantation life in the South. But the actor, James Baskett, who played Uncle Remus in Song of the South, was the first African-American male to win an Oscar. So there is that aspect. But, so that was in 1946. However, something I didn't know, do y'all? Apparently Universal Animation Studios created The Adventures of Brer Rabbit in 2006, where Nick Cannon played Brer Rabbit. They also had Danny Glover, D.L. Hughley, Wayne Brady, Dawn Lewis, and Wanda Sykes. Like, did y'all know about this show? I didn't. So we're going to have to buy that. Because again, it's important. Like, they are literally trying to gut, erase, change our history. It is important for us to tell our own stories. That's why I'm telling it on my blog, LifeIsRocqi blog, on manifestrealitieshc.com, link in the description box below. That's why I'm sharing it with you all on this video. Like, we have to document our own history because they will literally take it from us, right? And people who be talking about Black people don't have a culture, I'm doing this series to prove that we do. Okay, so again, I've already done quilts. I did a blog about flags, and then I'm doing this video about folklore. I also have a blog about the folklore as well, which is what I'm reading from, if you didn't know. Okay, so you know what I found that was interesting was that a lot of the, let me preface some other stuff. So we had Brer Rabbit from slavery days. We had John Henry from Reconstruction on the railroad. We also had Black people who actually wrote our folktales, our folklore. Because this white guy did it, but we need somebody who wasn't going to change the stories. So shout out to Zora Neale Hurston with Mules and Men. Okay. And this is a compilation of folktales. So I haven't read it yet, but it's dense, you know. And this is where she went to her hometown of Eatonville, Florida, which actually is one of the historic Black towns I mentioned on my flag. There you go. And she just gathered the stories that people had told. She captured the dialect, the social context of Black life, voodoo customs, superstitions, bringing back to life the humor and wisdom that is unique heritage of African Americans. So Zora Neale Hurston, Mules and Men, sorry. I haven't read this yet, but it's a Black author documenting our folklore, our stories. And they made one of the folktales into a children's book. So this is called The Making of Butterflies. So it's really cute, and it definitely shows the dialect. But yeah, but this is by Zora Neale Hurston from Mules and Men, I believe. And then there's also Virginia Hamilton, The People Could Fly. And this was taken from an anthology, or is it called an anthology? I don't know. A book that she did that was a collected work of folklore from Black Americans. So she has a couple books. So there's the actual book. So this is the picture book version, but they have the actual book, The People Could Fly. She also has her stories, African American folktales, fairy tales, and true tales, as well as A Ring of Tricksters, Animal Tales from America, the West Indies, and Africa. So this is all by Virginia Hamilton. And it's interesting, like, you know, obviously people couldn't fly, but apparently that was like one of those stories from Africa as well. But basically, you know, enslaved people were disappearing, and it's like they flew away, and it's like they was running away. Okay, so it was also using some of that code language that we talked about with the quilt code in the Underground Railroad. So yeah, so Virginia Hamilton, as well as Zora Neale Hurston. Come on. Oh, there's also Henry Louis Gates, who did the annotated African American folktales book. So check him out. And then there's also a mention of a folk hero, High John the Conqueror. Now this is also called a root within hoodoo practice. But it's basically a Black man with magical mystical properties. He was said to be a African prince who was sold into slavery. But there's a whole lot of books about him. So like, I haven't gotten that one yet from the library, but that was another folk hero. But when I was on this journey of exploring the folklore of Black America, because again, we do have a culture, we do have traditions, we do have a history, we do have an ancestry specific to this land. I realized a lot of it was prior to the 1920s. And it's because we needed hope. So we had stories that gave us hope. They gave us understanding and meaning of the life that we were living and a way to get out of it. But starting with the Harlem Renaissance, which is one of the reasons why I separated Harlem from the rest of the Black Meccas and historic Black towns and Black Wall Streets, because that's when we actually knew actual people, like Zora Neale Hurston. We knew actual people, which sometimes I'm going to do a separate video about the Harlem Renaissance and the Black Arts Movement, because sometimes all them names be jumbling together and they were different time periods. So I can't remember which one Zora Neale Hurston was in. But the Harlem Renaissance, it gave us names. It gave us actual people. It gave us artistry and works that we could actually talk to. It wasn't an oral thing that, I don't know if it's real or not. Like, it was actual legit, you know, and that's why it's important to have documentation. But yeah, from the Harlem Renaissance to the Black Power movement and the Civil Rights movement to the Black Arts movement. And I think we need to put more respect on the 90s and 2000s, because that was a beautiful explosion of Black American culture. Like, we had music, we had movies, we had TV, we had fashion. Like, we were doing the damn thing, right? We had so much at our exposure, and it was Black as fuck. I feel like however we got access, people just let us run free and do what the fuck we wanted to do, and I loved it. So yeah, so shout out to that era. I would definitely love exploring our traditions and culture of those eras, and really understanding more of us at that time. But one of the things that came out of my exploration of folklore is this book, which I got at Marcus Books, which is one of the oldest Black bookstores in the country, and is down the street from me. But What Mama Used to Say, Handbook of Old Sayings by Lola Hanif. And it's just basically a bunch of sayings that Mama used to say. So, a closed mouth don't get fed, and black don't crack by hook or crook, you know, like it's stuff that we grew up hearing. So in my blog, I mentioned some more Black mama sayings. My mom's sayings, you know, goodness, she had so many. Common sense ain't so common. that was one of her go-tos. It's better to have and not need than need and not have is another one of my mama's saying. So let me know in the comments below, what did your Black mama say? And I will add to my blog on that. But I'm really happy to be exploring that side too, because, and it was the hashtag Grown Up Black that really, I was like, how we all grow up hearing the same thing and we lived in different parts of the country, right? That showed me that there is something, there's something there. There's a culture there. And again, it's orally. We just pass it down. We hear it from our mamas, we pass it down. And I think there's a lot of wisdom in those sayings. It had a lot to do with discipline too, which I did preface in my blog as well. But it was very interesting to hear those sayings, and honestly a lot of them are funny, but there's a lot of wisdom in there too. And to that point, I was gifted another book, I forget where, but it's What We Carry, Stories Black Women Never Tell. And these are like autobiographies of from Black women, of their experiences in life. And again, this is important to document. It's important to document our stories. And with that, of course, my book, The Roots Beneath the Tree, a book of poetry by Ashley Raquel. It's poems that I wrote from age 13 to 18, like 7th or 8th grade graduation of high school. And it's where I'm exploring my Black identity, and I'm actually questioning what's Black American culture. So it's really interesting to come full circle and not be questioning it anymore, and to be grounded in it, proud in it or of it, and exploring more of it and learning more about it. So it's really beautiful to come on the other side of that and find myself, you know. But I think that's it for Black American folklore. Make sure you document the stories of your family, of your ancestors. Explore more of what the ancestors did tell story-wise. So I'm excited to read Mules and Men, as well as some of the other works of folklore for Black America. And you know what? The folklore that's European, they made into movies. The Disney princesses, Brothers Grimm, that was them collecting folktales, writing it down. Then they made a movie out of it. So as much as I love the orality of our people, we have to document it. Otherwise we may lose it. And like, even thinking about quilts, how many of us can sew? Shout out to everybody who picked up crocheting during the pandemic, okay? It was a new tradition for the culture, but how many of us sew? How many of us made quilts? How many of us knew that that was a Black American thing? Like kente, mudcloth, those are woven. That's not quilting. It's a different artistry. Quilting is specific to here, and specifically because it was scraps. It was scraps of fabric, you know? But it's like, how many of us knew that? Let me know in the comments below. But yeah, so I'm feeling really good about exploring Black American culture, traditions, history, ancestry. I feel like I'm reconnecting to myself in a whole new way, and I'm excited to learn more. So what did you know of? What Black American folklore are you familiar with? And then, yeah, Black mama sayings. Let me know in the comments below. And I've definitely reached Black mama status. You know, we was all on that intentional parenting, gentle parenting, Montessori parenting, all that stuff. And then toddler stage hit, and I was like, well, Black mama coming out. But anyways, I hope you have a beautiful day. Take care of you. Enlighten love.